Hi, welcome to week 3. This week I want to talk a little bit about the meditations of our heart. In week 1, we said that out of the overflow of our heart, the mouth speaks. And so we noticed that not everything that was coming out of our mouths was our favorite. And the sounds around us coming out of other people's mouths weren't our favorite either. And so we wanted to change that. And the first thing I thought of was, out with the old, in with the new. Let's put in a bunch of new good stuff, and then that will make what I say better, right? So we started doing the bean jar project, which I'm still doing, although our enthusiasm, I will say, has waned a little bit. And we want to say more good things. But the fact is, in order for it to come out of our heart, it has to be a belief and not just nice words that we're just pumping out there that we don't really believe. Last week we looked at how we talk to ourselves, because if we feel inadequate and insecure and unloved and unforgiven and ashamed, then what comes out of our mouth is going to be a reflection of that, and we don't want that. So sorry, I'm squirming. Not a vlogger. Hashtag. So I started thinking, okay, we got to kind of work backwards. We've got to fix the mouth. And to do that, I got to fix the heart. But to fix what's in the heart, I got to fix this is what I believe. This is what I say. What I say is my mouth. What I believe is my heart. But to fix what I believe, I got to fix what's in my head. What I'm absorbing knowledge-wise, because I have to know something before I can believe it, and then I can, then I say it. It overflows. So I kind of was skipping that heart stage and expecting, I'll just put in a bunch of good here. We'll just memorize a bunch of scripture, and then that's what'll come out our heart. And I think that's sometimes what we do with our kids. We pump them full of scripture and think, okay, then it'll all come out here. But until they internalize that and make it their own and accept it in their hearts, it's not really going to overflow to them. So the step that we're missing is meditation. And scripture talks about that, and that's the 2 verses that we're going to use this week. Psalm 19:14 is one of our verses, and it says, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer." Well, let's figure out what would be acceptable. In Philippians 4:8, it says, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." So that tells us what we're supposed to be thinking about. Well, truth be told, I spend a lot of time meditating on other stuff, not things that are true, right, lovely, excellent, praiseworthy, or acceptable, and that comes out. And beliefs I have that are faulty come out of my mouth. So in order to make an adjustment, I first had to identify, I didn't get very far in the verse. The very first thing I noticed was that it says, whatever is true. And I realized that a lot of what I think is false. And I'll give you 2 examples. The first is that I have a belief, that's an untrue belief, that if I were to have perfect order in my home, and somehow get my family to maintain an orderly home, that I would have rest, and that I would have a rested spirit. And I think this because I do like things to be orderly. But it's faulty because I don't actually have a rested spirit when I have an orderly home. I have a rested spirit when my home is at peace, which means that my family is getting along with each other and they're being loving toward one another. I keep looking over here because I'm looking at my home. Don't be confused. That's what's happening. But it has really less to do with how clean and how put together things are. There are a lot of nights where I finally get them in bed and I finally get everything picked up and I collapse on the sofa and I don't really feel all that rested. I feel more irritated and annoyed. But there are times when things are in a lot of disarray and they're happily playing together, and I feel very at ease. And that points to the fact that I have a faulty belief about order that I've meditated on, that I've soaked in to the point where that's informing the way that I talk to my kids. You know, if you would just do this thing, then I tell myself I would feel better. When really, I'm reinforcing the wrong thing to them. So that's not true. And I want to start meditating on truth, which is that if I foster a more peace-loving environment, that's when we'll be able to be restful with one another, not a more orderly environment. Does that make sense? I hope so. The second area that I've been meditating on that is untrue is that if people in my world, my husband, my friends, my family, my kids, were to do things differently, and in some ways more according to Scripture, then it would be better for me. And I let myself like wallow in this sort of disappointed dissatisfaction with the way other people are. And that festers in my spirit. And I meditate and I think about it and I get angry and I get self-righteous. And when I allow that to happen, when I let myself believe that if they would just change, all would be better for me, then I'm very critical, I'm unloving towards them, I'm unappreciative towards them, and I'm unpleasant. So I want to change that as well. I don't want to wallow in dissatisfaction and disappointment in those relationships and in those places where other people aren't perfect, because I'm certainly not perfect, and I don't want them to spend their days thinking about how much they wish I would change, because that's a waste of their time. So what I want to do is believe truth, focus on what's admirable, noble, praiseworthy, excellent about what they're doing, and think about such things, just like Scripture says. I feel like that's going to change my belief about them, and it's going to foster a more authentic relationship between us. So that's my two examples, and I want to encourage you in the same ways. I had the girls in the live group spend 5 minutes writing down what their hearts had been meditating on over the course of the past week, whether for good or for bad, what they'd set their minds on, where their headspace was, whether it's Facebook, TV show, Scripture, just annoyances about the kids. What were they meditating on? And then after they spent 5 minutes thinking about that, I had them write 5 minutes or a few minutes on what they wanted to meditate on instead. What strengths, what good things, what excellent or praiseworthy things they could refocus their minds on. And there are a lot of places, even in our busy days, where we could make adjustments, eliminating things that are just wasted time. I've been trying to, I won't even tell you how much TV I have watched historically. I'm trying to reduce that amount. I'm trying to reduce the amount of time I just spend scrolling on Facebook, just because I feel like that's kind of a waste of my time. And it draws my mind to meditating on things that aren't necessarily bad, but they're not necessarily excellent or praiseworthy either. So those are some things that I'm doing, and if having that reflection would help you, I encourage you to take 5 minutes to just jot those things down and just to be more mindful throughout this coming week. What are you meditating on? And do adjustments to that make a difference in the way that you speak in your home. So I hope that helps you, and I hope to see you back next week for week 4. And don't forget to memorize the verses, and don't forget to pitch in with the discussion on Facebook with questions, comments, encouragements, insight, anything that you feel like would be helpful to the group. Thanks so much. See ya.